When you hear the word disturbing, you sure think of a lot of blood, dismemberment, and lots of twisted R-rated stuff. And of course, you imagine it in the most realistic way possible. Well, you have a point. Although something as innocent as animation can also be quite disturbing. Hey guys, welcome back to the Replay Media. Today, we'll be taking a look at the darker side of anime, those series that combine the wonderful aesthetics created by the Japanese with extremely disturbing elements that will dig into your bones and keep you awake for many nights to come. From urban legends of Japanese folklore to grotesque creations by the iconic Junji Ito, these are the 10 most disturbing horror anime to date. Since its beginnings on the NES, the Castlevania saga has been one of the most popular in the gaming industry. With its side-scrolling mobility that started the Metroidvania subgenre and a gothic setting with Dracula as the main villain, it was only a matter of time before some production company took the risk of adapting it. Beyond vampires and other monsters, they didn't really qualify as full horror games, and that's when Netflix twisted it. The Castlevania adaptation revolves around a dark fantasy universe in which humans, the vampire race, and all manner of beasts and demons coexist in a delicate balance that is shattered when a mob of enraged citizens burns a woman accused of witchcraft. Well, sounds pretty normal for 1455, although it wasn't just any woman, but the wife of Dracula himself. From that moment on, the Prince of Darkness unleashed his wrath against the entire world with a demonic army almost more savage than him. Castlevania is not only a good adaptation with great action scenes and a spectacular soundtrack, it also builds a pessimistic world in which violence and cruelty are deeply ingrained, to the point where you wonder if it's worth being saved. Oh, sure, there are plenty of vampires too. Also known as Higurashi when they cry, this anime looks like any other at first glance. A group of students in a small town struggling with the problems of growing up. And a god who demands sacrifices. The story takes place in 1983 when Mayabara Kaiichi and his family moved to Hinamizawa. Everything seems peaceful in their life until something terrifying escapes from the forest. During the local festival, Kaiichi learns that 4 years ago, one person died and another disappeared on the same date. As this event unleashed the curse of the god Ayushiro-sama, small town, big mystery. With that premise, Higurashi is presented as a kind of whodunit, with protagonists who do not correspond with the things that happen to them, from physical violence to very tragic decisions. It is impressive how disturbing this anime becomes behind its family-friendly animation. Nothing better than teenage existential crisis with some mystery, terror, and a lot of craziness. There is also a 2020 remake, although most of its fans prefer the original version. The Japanese have a strange fascination with putting ordinary students in very bad situations. But we must admit that there is nothing more terrifying than feeling vulnerable at that age. Another follows Class 3 of Yomayama North High School, where 26 years ago, a charming student named Misaki studied. However, Misaki dies unexpectedly and her classmates continue to behave as if the girl is still alive, even conversing with the chair where she used to sit in class. Things get really tense when Masaki's spirit appears in the class graduation photo. From then on, Masaki's chair was never again occupied by another person, and in case the opposite happened, students and teachers had to be prepared to deal with the consequences. As you uncover the mystery, you'll witness several brutal murders that make up a psychological thriller that'll teach you that some things are better left as they are. As an anthology TV show, each episode of Yamishibai features a man who tells children terrifying stories inspired by Japanese folklore. But trust me, they're not suitable for them. Each episode features a different legend, animated in a way that could easily make you shiver and even cover your eyes. This is due to an animation style inspired by Kamishibai, a Japanese method of storytelling that translates as paper theater. With 10 seasons behind it, Yamishibai is a huge collection of horror in which each director reflected on their worst nightmares and fears. Surprisingly, it is considered for children given the depth and background of the legends in each episode. Maybe they did it on purpose so that children are scared for a few seconds, but adults live in terror believing the next story could be about one of them. That's the charm of urban legends. Some may not know him too well, but Junji Ito is considered the Guillermo del Toro of Japan, only a much more disturbing one. When this anime was announced, many fans were afraid that no studio would be able to convey the brutality of the mangaka's drawings and their strong sensations. Fortunately, they were wrong. Inspired by his art, Junji Ito Collection is an anime that adapts several of the artist's most macabre and bizarre stories. There are 12 episodes full of graphic material that defies all kinds of laws, from a cursed stone that unleashes a terrible infection to a slug that settles inside a girl's cheek. Each frame is made with the utmost attention to detail to simulate the mangaka's skill without leaving out a narrative thread that'll make the experience even more uncomfortable. Whatever you imagined, Ito did it in the most bizarre way. So I recommend you simply enjoy this collection worthy of contemplation for those with a good stomach. Science fiction has always been linked to the horror genre. That fear of the unknown, the intangible, the unimaginable is rooted in our subconscious, let alone something that comes from another galaxy. With 24 episodes, Parasite centers on young Shinichi Izumiyuna, who one night encounters a strange entity trying to enter his body. After an arduous resistance, the creature manages to take over his right arm and explains its mission to the young man. It is a parasite that wants to dominate his brain. The creature's failed attempt turns Shinichi into half human and half parasite, and he is charged with the responsibility of annihilating the rest of the creatures that murder and possess humans. The concept of invasion and body snatchers has been widely used in the science fiction genre, although Parasite takes it to the next level, especially in the graphic aspect. The physical changes the protagonist goes through and the manifestations of his peculiar parasite are not very easy to see, but even so, you won't be able to stop watching them because of how creative they are. I can't imagine how they animated that, nor the mind where those ideas come from. Combining action and body horror, Parasite is a thoughtful approach to human irrationality and our fragile moral balance. At the end of the day, what do you prefer? A deficient society run by humans or a productive society run by non-humans? I wish I was talking about Studio Ghibli's enchanting Princess Mononoke, but here we came to explore the darker corners of anime. The funny thing is that Mononoke's animation style is extremely colorful, so different from what its episodes tell. Born as a spin-off of Ayakashi Japanese classic horror, this anime presents us with 5 supernatural cases that the protagonist, known as the medicine seller, must solve, as they usually leave a trail of death. The medicine seller will have to discover their form, truth, and reason by interrogating those involved, and once found out, destroy the Mononokes. Feudal Japan is full of stories about spirits, yokais, and beings from other dimensions that Mononoke uses as a base to build chilling stories. The animation features well-crafted scenes with a strong color palette that guarantees the macabre tone of the series. The Mononokes, covered with an unsettling vibe, manage to be exaggerated and abstract at the same time. However, the humans in this anime are not far behind, showing cruelty and indifference that teaches us that we have much room for improvement. Today, we cannot imagine our lives without the internet. Gone are the days when it was a luxury, because now, more than ever, it is a necessity, and it will only increase in the future. That's right, the future, the mysterious and terrifying future. Serial Experiments Lain focuses on Lain, an introverted and reserved girl with obvious socialization problems both with the outside world and with her family, and even with herself. One day, day, she and several of her high school classmates receive an email from Chisa, a student who deleted herself in order to free herself from her carnal attachments and thus meet the god of the new cyber world. Intrigued by this, Lain installs a new Navi, a cutting-edge computer to enter the wired, something similar to today's internet. As a result, she dives into a maelstrom of technology, hackers, secret groups, conspiracies, and people of dubious recommendation to unravel the mystery surrounding Chisa's death and her enigmatic message from beyond the grave. Yes, it's a very long premise, and it barely covers a percentage of this anime's immense narrative quite focused on the dark side of the internet. With no need for gore or violence, Serial Experiments Lain is a chilling essay on the role of technology in a society progressing at a fast pace into an uncertain future. Along the way, we're not asking ourselves the right questions, something Yasuyuki Ueda already knew almost 30 years ago. More than 10 years after his death, Satoshi Kon is still remembered as one of the best artists who analyzed the human psyche through its darkest places. Paranoia Agent is one of the best examples. It all starts when a boy on roller skates goes out to roam the streets of Tokyo to beat up a bunch of unsuspecting civilians with his bat. What might seem like a random assault ends up delving into the most painful and outlandish behaviors of the victims. The episodes tell individual stories that only coincide with one element, a street attack that shakes the world of the assaulted, whether against an artist crushed by responsibilities or an arrogant young man who discovers how empty his life can be. Paranoia Agent builds a web of seemingly isolated circumstances that lead to the idea that everyone has a secret. Can an attack that ultimately proves liberating be considered a crime? You'll be the judge of that. Known as one of Japan's most acclaimed cult anime, Monster is the perfect representation that evil can come in all possible forms. Anyone can be a monster, even a child. The story revolves around a Japanese neurosurgeon named Kenzo Tenma, who saves the life of a seemingly normal child. Far from reality, this infant is actually a sociopathic killer who will change and destroy the lives of all those he crosses paths with, including Tenma himself, whom he blames for a series of murders committed by him. After doing the right thing, the poor doctor must prove his innocence or pay for crimes he never committed. Monster is brutal. It doesn't hold back when it comes to showing the reality of our world and portrays how easily life can be thrown away. It's a fact we can't avoid, even if we try to deny it. At certain points, we will even encourage the deaths of criminals and random thugs, which doesn't sound bad at first glance, but then what makes us different from them? Sometimes it only takes one decision to unleash the inner monster and devour everything. And so, we come to the end of this list full of disturbing gems, and yet there were some left out like Hellsing, Erased, Elfen Lied, and many more. The Japanese have crazy ideas in their minds, and we love to see them on the screen. But please, don't jump into our reality.